Big Jeff, I'm looking at the list, man. What are we talking about today? I feel like there really wasn't much to say.
We talk about
it's a boring time of year in the NFL. I mean, there's just not a lot of things to talk about. What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? I'm playing with you. It's one-on-one. We're going to the AFC Championship game. We just had one of the best playoff games in the history of the NFL, and it went in our favor.
You got me. I was like, I don't know.
Did you think?
Yeah.
Like, man, come on. Are you serious? This guy hit his head too many times. But it is great to see everyone, have everyone back one-on-one. Wow, it's just amazing. Here we are, AFC Championship game. It is hard to express how difficult it is to get to this point, and let alone to get to this point 4 years in a row in Arrowhead every time. It's just mind-boggling. But before we get into that, Big Jeff, Cookie Society, man, you guys got to be selling out with all these playoff games. And
everyone's either celebrating or eating out of misery. So it's a good time.
Now, have y'all have done like KC special cookie batches before, haven't you? Didn't you guys do some?
Well, we did something for the Super Bowl. We did the championship chunk. And it looks like we're going to bring that back this year.
All right. So we'll be on the lookout for that. Check them out, cookiesociety.com. They ship nationwide. Thank you to our sponsors, as always, Big Jeff. Man, unbelievable. Let's start here. Greatest playoff game ever. What do you think?
Yeah. Greatest ever. And
even better than the Super Bowl. Even better than the Super Bowl with Brady and against the Falcons.
Yeah, that was the most. I guess not. That was a great game actually. But I would say this is the greatest just because the back and forth and the dramatics of it. And every time you thought it was over, each quarterback stepped up. It was amazing. It was the perfect end to an already great weekend of football.
Right.
I mean, this is probably what the NFL wanted. You couldn't have dreamed it going any better. Want to say congratulations to the Bills. They played a hell of a game. Josh Allen played his heart out. You know, it's tough to lose those types, but they had a great year.
Oh, it's a heartbreaker. Yeah, even for a team that, is a rival team, you feel for them getting that far and then losing in that fashion in that game is tough. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. And one thing I wanted to comment on was, as a former player now, turned fan, playing football was 1,000 times easier than watching it.
Yes.
I don't know how people do this year in and year out. It's just that game was a heart attack. I mean, it was over and over again, heart attack. I don't have enough Xanax in the cabinet to get me through a game like that. Man.
Listen, Mike, I screamed the entire game. I'm on my feet the entire fourth quarter overtime. I'm pacing around the house. My wife's like, "What's wrong?" I'm just like, we got to get this one. I swear to you, I burned so many calories. Like my Apple Watch kept saying, "Breathe." My heart rate was spiking. It was a crazy one, man. But
the monitor.
Shout out to all those people that have been fans all their lives. I apologize because it's tough, man.
It's not like that on the side. I mean, I've never been in a game like that, but I've been in some tight games, some back and forth, some overtime wins, and it's not like that. It is not like that. It is, and it reminded me another tough game to watch was two or 3 years ago when KC lost in the championship game to the Patriots. That was along the same lines. But
thanks for bringing it back up.
Well, we've rebounded from that. We're back. We already got the Super Bowl. But yeah, I mean, just 13 seconds left. You're thinking, there's no way. Nobody can do it in 13 seconds. Even Brady can't do it in 13 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, you forget when you have Mahomes and Kels.
Well, they worked. We worked on that. Like I knew exactly, what they were going to go to.
That tight end in the middle.
Listen, man, they have so many different scenarios and situations. And credit to Coach Reed and EB with knowing what they're going to do in that situation. That's studying. That's studying your opponent. They probably found that last year in the end of game situation.
Right.
Leslie Frazier's go-to is probably that. I mean, you heard Patrick Kelsey do it. That means they know what they saw, and you hear him screaming cover 4.
Right.
He knew exactly where he was going pre-snap, and it was beautiful to see it. Just a great comeback. It's one of those things where I believed it was going to happen. but goddamn, it happened. Like, wow,
Unbelievable.
unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And you're right. I mean, that's a really interesting point. EB, Andy Reid, Mahomes, they've not only practiced that situation, but watched film on the Bills and Frazier from, whenever their situations like that came up. I bet you they could tell you what he did with 23 seconds left, 2-minute drill. I mean, they probably knew every little nuance of how things could play out at the end there and what would be the best play to do to take advantage of what they were almost certainly going to get. And you're right. They knew exactly what they're going to get, and they knew the play they were going to call. And that's what makes Andy Reid and EB so deadly. We talk about them coming off a bye week. It's like you give them 2 extra weeks to prepare, you're toast, because you can see what they do in 1 week. They know it down to every little minute detail. So yeah, that's a great point. I mean, just incredible. One thing that keeps coming up and I've seen you've talked about it a little bit coming up on Twitter, and people are talking about it with this game, is the overtime rules.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of back and forth on that, whether they're fair, whether the Bills should have gotten another chance to go down and score, or at least have the ball. What are your thoughts, brother? I know you had talked about it a little bit on Twitter. What do you think of the overtime rules?
Yeah, I think it's fair because it's the rule. I don't agree with the rule. I think it needs to change. I felt that way back in 2018 when we lost to New England in the AFC Championship, and we were hot. The offense was hot. Patrick was on fire, and essentially we lost on a coin flip. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's the rule. We felt that way, but we also said, hey, there's some things we could have done better defensively.
Right.
The entire game to not be in that situation. And the same can be said about Buffalo.
Right.
I mean, you got the number one defense. I mean, you could have did a squib kick. You could have done.
Why they didn't do a squib
kick? You could have done better.
I don't understand that.
Better defensively. You essentially, gave the game away by doing that. So,
why you would kick it out of bounds and not squib it? I was blown away.
I thought for sure that was coming, but I mean, everyone has a strategy.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're kicking themselves for it. Thank you for doing it. We appreciate it.
No, exactly.
Gave us an opportunity, but it was a hell of a game, man. That's one of those that you wish you could watch again, even though it's stressful. And I want to see it again. I think this is going to be a great rivalry. Josh Allen isn't going anywhere. Patrick Mahomes isn't going anywhere. So we'll see this again.
Yeah, and I think your point is exactly right. It's the rule, right? I mean, it's whoever comes up with the rules, it's the rule, and we agree on it, and we move forward. I think Josh Allen had said something along the lines of, if they had won the toss, they probably would have went and scored, and they would be happy with the way it played out. So it's easy to complain when you're on the wrong side of the coin flip, but you don't hear many people complaining when they're on the right side of the coin flip.
No.
So, it is what it is, but a lot of back and forth, surprising a lot of back and forth on that. So, yeah, just an amazing game. Anything that stood out to you? I mean, there was a ton of incredible performances. I think, Mahomes, Kels, those two. Yeah, Tyreek. Certainly Mahomes and Kels have cemented that. They're starting to build that wing of the Hall of Fame that Brady's on, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like that really special wing where it's like, this is the Hall of Fame. And then there's this spot over here where there's some real, if there was a Hall of Fame of Hall of Famers, it would be these guys.
I'll tell you what I really loved. I loved the combination of McKinnon and Clyde. Yeah. Clyde was running like a madman. McKinnon was doing his thing. He's a versatile guy, man. He does it all. He's catching the ball at the backfield. Right. He's efficient when he runs it. And Clyde was a good changeup. Like, I loved it. I think we should continue that. That's going to, take us a long way this playoff season.
Yeah, you got to be able to run the football. And they did a great job with that. So we're going on now to before we get into the AFC Championship game, Tucker, our producer, brought this up before, and I thought it was a great point. He talked about how mellow the guys were in the locker room after the game.
Yeah,
this is a fantastic point, because if you look at the film that the Chiefs put out, filming, what guys were doing after the win in the locker room. And you're right, guys were excited and emotional, but not to the level that you would expect after a game where we're talking about one of the greatest playoff games in NFL history. It was almost like, yeah, we did it, now back to business as usual. You were in that locker room for longer than I am. I mean, you can tell that team is just used to winning. They're used to winning, and they're used to coming back and winning in situations that normal teams will lose in.
Yeah, it's business as usual.
Yeah.
They know what's next. They know what's in front of them. This is the fourth straight, this is crazy. This is the fourth straight year of hosting the AFC title game in Arrowhead. Can you believe that? Like that is unbelievable. So for them, it's just like, been there, done that. We know what the goal is. It was a great game, but we've won some really good ones. I mean, the Super Bowl, for instance, that was one of those things where they're thinking ahead, staying calm, knowing what's in front of them, and I think it's going to be an advantage for them.
Well, think about that Super Bowl year, the Houston game, and then the Titans game, right?
Yeah, it's
coming back
just
from however many points.
Exactly, and having that, in your back pocket gives you confidence.
Right.
You know what you can do. You know it's never over. You got the pieces. There's a never quit attitude. I mean, these guys are resilient. Like the mental fortitude it takes to stay within the game and think that you can win as long as you have enough time. 13 seconds. This will go down in history. 13 seconds. This is one of those things that's a Super Bowl moment.
Right.
You look back on a season and you remember those moments, and this is going to be one of those. And that's why I feel like this is a Super Bowl team, because of the plays being made.
Yeah, and you look, nobody was deflated. I mean, you look at the sidelines with that, that score that the Bills had at the end, and nobody was deflated. They were fired up. You gave them 13 seconds. I mean, and we'll get it done. I mean, it's just, we talk about the tangible stuff that you see on the field with obviously the talents and the best athletes in the world, best football players in the world are on this team, Hall of Famers in their prime. But it's the intangible stuff that continues to drive this team forward. The leadership, the resiliency, the ability to dig yourself out of a hole. I mean, these, and it's not just like they're good at these things. They are incredible at these things. I mean,
exactly.
They're built differently. This team is built differently. It's structured differently. It runs differently than other teams.
This is what championship teams do.
Right.
I mean, obviously you want all three phases to be clicking at the same time, but they pick one another up.
Right.
Early in the year, offense was playing well, defense wasn't. Then it flipped for a little bit. Then it came together. Last night, offense had to pick it up a little bit more. There were some big plays given up, and it was just a battle. And there was no pointing fingers. There was no hanging heads.
Right.
Coaches, players all came together, and they figured out how to win a game, and that's what champions do.
Exactly. No, and they do it so, I mean, like I said, incredibly well. They've set a standard for how to get that done, because there's just been nothing like this. And I'll talk about this more, but I went to back-to-back AFC Championship games with the Jets, and we were on the road, and I just remember how hard it was, those two seeds, getting a back-to-back AFC Championship, not even at home, but just getting to the championship game, how much work that took. So to do it 4 years in a row, and to be the 1 and 2 seed, and to always have it at Arrowhead, again, it takes more than just talent to do. I mean, we've seen incredibly talented rosters that don't get past the first round. I mean, it takes a lot of intangible things, and this team just is incredible about it. Andy Reid in close games. You talk about the resiliency and the sort of mindset of the players to just sort of stay the course, stay confident, dig yourself out of the hole. You also see a lot of times coaches having a difficult time in tough situations, managing things, calling the plays correctly. Andy Reid, EB, they are the same way. I mean, they're just –
It's the entire staff.
Right.
It's
right.
They have all taken on the personality of Andy Reid.
Right.
Every single coach. I mean, one of my favorite coaches of all time, Andy Heck, the offensive line coach.
Right.
He's all over your ass for the week. All over your ass, super detailed, pushing you. Game day, he's super chill.
Right.
Even mistake happens. Oh, let's move on. Let's figure out how to fix it, but let's move on. And that's the entire staff. It's a part of it. They know there's going to be ebbs and flows during the game. They know there's going to be moments where you may lose, a matchup.
Right.
But as long as you can stay together, you have an opportunity to win. And a big part is the coaching staff, but you also got that guy, Patrick Mahomes. So
yeah, that's huge. Yeah, I mean, you put all that together, the talent with that intangible stuff, and it's lights out. But, that's a great point talking about Andy Heck. The best defensive line coach I had in the NFL was Carl Dunbar. He's now the D-line coach with the Steelers. But I had him 1 year with the Jets in 2012. And he was the same way, would chew you out during the week. Just absolutely, you'd be crushed. Film room, crush you. But then when it's time to play the game, it was calm, cool, and collected the whole time. And as a player, I had my best year under him because as a player, you have so many things you have to worry about during the game. Yep. And the added stress and tension to come off to the sideline and get chewed out by a coach, it adds another element that you have to deal with. When you have coaches like that recognize, hey, we just stay calm, cool, put it behind you, and move on, because you have to go back out there and play. And so you have to be able to put that stuff behind you and move on. When you have coaches that recognize that as a player, that made a huge difference. And you're right, across the board in Kansas City, all those guys you see with Spags, Heck, EB, all those guys, you don't have the bickering, you don't have the yelling. It's just calm, cool, and collected the whole time, regardless of the situation. And I guess I know we're beating a dead horse here, but that's hard to do.
It is hard to do.
It's emotional.
They fly the plane, they steer the ship. Could you imagine sorry. Could you imagine getting on the airplane and the pilot is panicking?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
we're about to crash. You're going to be scared to hell.
Oh, man.
It's the equivalent to, football. If your coach is panicking, I've been on teams where the coach would panic and lose his shit during the game. And I'm like, there's no way we're winning the game. We've already lost. We've lost the mental battle. So
right.
Just to have that. And it's rare.
Right. It is
it's the way it should be, but it's rare. So, kudos to them. And this is why this team will always win, because the combination of coaches and players, everyone holds each other accountable, and they're all leading in their different ways. Everyone knows their role.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Tucker, again, our producer, brought up, could you imagine being Cincinnati and looking at that film of Kansas City after the game and just seeing them like, yeah, all right.
I mean, Jamar Chase is rubbing his hands together right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. So we'll get into that, but yeah, big test next week. But this, we talked about it. I mean, this was the game. I think of the teams left in the playoffs, Buffalo was going to be the hardest challenge for Kansas City, and they went out there and did that. So now it's just about handling business. AFC Championship game coming up. I had the opportunity to play in 2 of these, lost them both. There's nothing worse. The feeling of losing this game is just hard. It is. You are 1 game away. You're 1 game away. There are 4 teams left. 4 teams left in the NFL. Everybody else is done. You're one of the top 4, and you are 1 game away from that Super Bowl. 2 wins away from being, going down in history as one of the greatest. And I just remember what the atmosphere was like. So one thing I always remember, we were in Indy. It was the night before the game, and my family was in town. They were at the hotel, and they asked me to come down and see them. And I got off the elevator. Now remember, I'm a nobody. We have we have all these other guys on the team: Braylon Edwards, Sanchez, famous guys on the team, Revis. I come down off the elevator into the lobby of the hotel, and I get swarmed with people. I can't even go to see my family because everybody, I mean, there must have been, I don't know how many people, but this hotel lobby, which was big, was full of people, of Jets fans. And this was in Indy. So it's just the atmosphere is incredible. I mean, I've never been to a Super Bowl, so I know that Super Bowl's turned up even more, but the AFC Championship game was really just a spectacular environment. The media at the locker rooms. Now you're seeing everybody, right? I remember seeing Sal Palantonio and all these, Jason Lockenfor and all these big time guys now. And the entire national media is at your facility and interviewing you guys, and you're doing constant interviews. And obviously, you're not even going home to the family. Everybody's staying over at the facilities, and it's just it's a fun time. And it brings me to this, because I wanted to ask you about this as a former player, because again, what we're trying to do here is give people insight to what it's like to be a player and a former player. There's a part of me, when I watch these games, there's a part of me that's like, I just can't wait for this to be over, because I love watching the Chiefs win. And I obviously I want them to go out there and kill it every week. But every day I wake up with a pit in my stomach thinking, man, I'm not there. I'm not a part of it, and never again will I be a part of it. And I've been out for 6 years now. I haven't experienced anything in life like football, and especially playing in these playoff games. And you watch the guys having fun. You watch this was like, and it's just it's just hard, and there's times it's heartbreaking, and I'm not trying, I'm not trying to make a sad story, but I think it's just important to see what it's like from a player's perspective. You never get to do this again, so I think back to these times, the AFC Championship games and the times we had in Kansas City. I'm just like, damn, man, damn.
Yeah.
There's just nothing like that.
That's what I tell young guys all the time, enjoy it while you got it, man.
Oh man. I wish I would have.
It's definitely an honor. You've earned it. You've earned the right, but it's something that you can't get back once it's gone. It's a feeling that you can't replicate. You can't really explain it either. It's just it's really one of those things that's just so special that you wish you appreciated it more while you were in the moment.
Oh, I wish.
We were so locked in and so laser focused on doing our jobs and being successful at them that I know me personally, I never took a step back and soaked it all in. Like, man, this is really special. This is really amazing. And you realize that when you're done, but then you miss it like hell when you start thinking back on it. You're like, man, I wish I could do this differently. I wish I could do that differently. But at the end of the day, I get a lot of joy out of seeing a lot of my former teammates, and coaches have success. You want to be a part of it, but a piece of you is still there, with knowing some of those guys.
Right.
The further along you go throughout your career, those guys disappear and stuff, and then, maybe this feeling will fade. But right now, it's really exciting to see these guys do well.
Yeah, no, it is exciting, and because you love those guys, you know how hard it is to do what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. I never step back. I never step back and look at it. And now it's like, I tell you, Jeff, it's like, there are moments where it's almost like somebody came and punched me in the gut, and they'll come out of nowhere. Just be like, damn, I miss football a lot. I miss
it's those nights where you wake up wake up out of a dream, man, it felt like you were really back in it. And that's the most disappointing days right there.
What's so funny, Jeff? The dreams I have, I'm always late to practice. Or late to a game. I still have those dreams. And so I wake up double miserable that miserable that I'm not playing. Also miserable that even in my dream, I was late to practice.
I messed up.
Come on, man. Come on. I'm running around the house in the snow. I got to get this right. Yeah, man. Okay, but back on to bigger things now. AFC Championship game. We are talking about Cincy at home. That Arrowhead. I mean, Andy Reid always starts or most of the time after these wins will start his press conferences thanking the fans. The fans are unbelievable. Kansas City, you guys just get it done at another level, and you could tell, you could watch the impact you all have on the other team, on the opposing team. And so it's not just lip service. You guys are a massive asset. Coming into Arrowhead is not easy. And so, Jeff, I mean, what do you, when Cincinnati coming into Arrowhead, what are you looking at this game? Anything you're worried about? Obviously, this is a dangerous team. Yeah. But anything specifically that you're worried about or you're looking at when you're analyzing this game?
I mean, I'm not worried about it, honestly. Yeah. I think we're gonna fix our mistakes, and the biggest mistake defensively was, some of the matchups, the way we played Jamar Chase, right? Not letting him beat us individually. They do have other weapons in Higgins and Boyd and whatnot, and hell of a quarterback. But I just think their offensive line is just terrible.
Whew, 9 times.
And if you're bad at home as an offensive line, you're even worse on the road, especially in an environment like Arrowhead. You can't hear. It's tough to communicate. You're late off the ball. Right. So I expect the defensive front to have a big day against this group, thus limiting Joe Barrow and his opportunity to make those plays down the field to those weapons that we talked about. Right. But I do like their demeanor. Obviously, they're a good team to make it to this point. They got a lot of swag, a lot of confidence. So far, the moment hasn't been too big for them. Right. That's the key. It hasn't been too big for them. They've persevered. They showed that they could play well, but it's a little bit different feeling in the AFC Championship. Big time. You got a team in the Chiefs that's been there 4 straight times. And you got a team that hasn't been to the playoffs or won a playoff game in 100 years, whatever it was. Exactly. So I mean, we'll see. Anything can happen, but my money's on the Chiefs. Jeff Stradamus, I've predicted this.
So it might cash it in. I mean, you might as well
cash it in, go to Vegas.
That's it.
You got to do. I tried to tell you guys mid-season what was going to happen, but I kept catching strays. They're like, "Oh, you're an idiot. You're talking about this team is horrible." Yeah. Hate to say I told you so, but I told you.
I don't hate it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, the one thing I'm looking at for this game is, neither of these teams had the bye week. We talked about the longer season. And now, Cincinnati's forced to go on the road, right? So you have an extra flight involved there. You have a hotel stay involved there. I'm curious to see how everybody comes out the gate, right? Because a lot of times you see teams, and now Cincinnati just played a physical game too. You talked about Burrow. I think he got sacked 9 times or something like that. I mean, they just played a real physical game against Tennessee, and now they're coming on the road after playing this long season. I think this is another really big plus about being at home is the other advantage is that you don't have to travel. And it's at a point in time in the year where you need every minute to rest your body and get it right. In a flight, even a short flight does a number on your body. I mean, you talk about dehydration, inflammation, all that stuff. So I'm curious to see how guys come out, get after it. I'm also curious to see, you're right, can Cincinnati live up to the moment? This is a massive game, and none of these guys have been there before. I shouldn't say that. I don't know the whole roster, but I would imagine that very few have been to this one. Yeah, if any.
The key positions haven't been there. The key guys haven't been there before. So
that's right.
It's gonna be an interesting game. I think we come out and jump on them early.
Yeah.
And kind of keep our foot on the gas and coast our way to LA.
That's it, baby. Coast our way to LA. All right, Chiefs Kingdom. That's another one. We're going to see you next week when we're talking about this Super Bowl game. Jeff's predicted it, so it's as good as done. Thank you for tuning in, Chiefs Kingdom. Congratulations. Let's go get this AFC Championship win. All right, brother?
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.